We can go whenever you want to, Jared.
We're going.
I ain't scared. We can go whenever you want.
You're live.
Oh, we're live right now?
You're live right now.
Oh. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Tuesday session here in the bunker. We've got a new product that we're showing you. Actually, it is a product that we've already talked about a little bit, but it's in 3 phases, the development of the product. So we finished phase 2 now. So we've got Stephen Hollis with us this morning. Stephen's going to tell us what's changed from phase 1 to phase 2, but more importantly, what's going to happen in phase 3. So in March, we should be completed with the project, and we'll talk about the capabilities of it when we're finished with it as well. So that's what we're mainly going to be doing today. As you know, if you've watched any of the webinars, I'm going to start us out with a prayer, and then we'll get rolling. So but before I do that, I just wanted to read a little something here. This is from Luke in chapter 21. And here's where Jesus is telling him not only what's about to happen to him, a lot of bad things, obviously, but in the future when he comes back. So it absolutely applies to us today, and especially when you hear the words. And it says here, so they asked him, saying, Teacher, well, when will these things be, and what sign will there be when these things are about to take place? And then he says, and he said, Take heed that you not be deceived, for many will come in my name, saying, I am he, and the time is drawn near. Therefore, do not go after them. And there have already been guys that have shown up throughout history that have claimed that. But then here's what he talks about. He says, But when you hear of wars and commotions, do not be terrified, for these things must come to pass first. But the end will not come immediately. Then he said to them, Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. And there will be great earthquakes in various places, and famines, and pestilences. And there will be fearful sights and great signs from heaven. So he's telling what's going to happen, and it did happen then. But here's where it starts getting good. But before all these things, they will lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you to the synagogues and prisons. You'll be brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. But it will turn out for you as an occasion for testimony. And I think that's the most amazing part of it at verse 13, is in the midst of everything that happens in our lives, when, I'm just being straight up here. It seems like there's a wet blanket over most of the folks I deal with these days. And it's just... it's working, all of this stuff that we're getting pounded with the news and everything, it's working on us. But realize what he said, in the middle of all that is a chance to give our testimony. So we're going to show who we believe in, not what, but who we believe in the middle of all this stuff. So I know I need to really work on that, in that, once you say that you're a Christian, people start watching it. And when stuff starts happening like it is now, who are you going to turn to and how are you going to act, both in your words and your deeds? So let's pray real quick. Father, thank you so much for this time this morning, not only to learn and to see this new product, but Father, also to anything that we could do to make it an occasion for someone to arrive home safely in one piece, and anything we could say today, Father. That's the most important thing, is the safety out there of these folks that we work with. We work with people that put themselves in harm's way every day. So Father, please put a hedge around them. Let them get home safe to their families. And Father, with all this stuff that we're getting hit from around us, I hope that we use that occasion to show exactly who we believe in, not what, but who we believe in. And Father, that's you. And so we lift our country up to you. We lift up what's going on in this world right now with the pestilence and things we see are going on. But in the midst of all of us, Father, please offer up opportunities for our testimony, as you tell us in your word. So give us a good session today. Thank you so much for all these fellows that are in here with me today. They're supporting what we're doing. And most of all, thank you so much for what your son did. If Jesus didn't die on that cross, I couldn't even pray right now. So all of these things I say, according to the will of the one that paid it all, my brother, Jesus Christ. Amen. Cool. All right, let's rock and roll it. So,
go ahead, John.
Okay, upcoming schedule. Jarrett makes me read this stuff. So, upcoming schedule.
Chris makes me make you.
Okay, Chris makes Jarrett make me read it. It always comes down to Chris, doesn't it? If you boil it down, it comes to Chris. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about the PRM and the completion of phase 2 in it. We're going to go over the the development of it, and we've completed the next part of it. Then next week we will be field testing a 4S with overhead CTs. So let's talk about the PRM real quick. So we mentioned this before. We had Stephen on here, and we did this before. So what the PRM is we have, and Stephen, jump in at any time and correct me on this, because he is the lead guy on this. So, but here's what I would say, just an overview, and then we can get into it, and you can really get into it, is the PRM we've always realized that a lot of people would not have to want to deal with meter site management. We understand you do the tests and the equipment works great, but now I've got this data. What do I do with it? And so we've been working really hard on making the data acquisition side of this, of getting the data straight from the equipment onto the system that the utility is using as seamless as possible. And that's where this is headed. And that is the ultimate goal. And Stephen and them have, after phase 3, they will have that accomplished. They're well on their way and everything's working great so far. So that's what we're looking for. This was a way so that you could just hit a button and send that test data over there and completely, if you wanted to, take Meter Site Manager out of it. Okay, so that the test data is going straight from the equipment onto the system. And the IT folks, once you do it the way they want to, because we know they're running the utilities now, so but if you do it the right way and everything's fine with them, everyone seems to be really happy with that idea, is to eliminate that step. So.
No, that's exactly right, John. And what you'll see from phase 1 now that we're in phase 2 is exactly that real-time data transfer from the analyzer right into PRM. So there's no need for a wire, there's no need to exit. It drives it right from the analyzer right into PRM, and then I will demonstrate how we've enabled you to then pick the data that you want. So we've gone away from the table sites, and now you can pick select data elements to then export in a .csv format into any other program. And as John mentioned, for phase 3, we're going to have native applications that will do that to your particular target program.
So the way we've got it set up, so you'll know here in the bunker, is we've got at the bench here behind us, we have a 3 series. Okay, so here's the 3 series right here. You'll notice, I guess you can show this, here's the dongle that allows us to communicate, and this is the window into PRM here. Notice we've added a little extension accessory right here, because the more we got thinking about it, and you know how we tend to be the curve busters or the buzz kills, the field guys. So they're like, check this thing out, that looks real cool, don't you? And of course, first thing we say is, well man, that thing's gonna break off pretty easy if it's sticking out there. We're always the buzz kill, but we're the field guys. So they were like, yeah, you got a point there. So now we've added this on here so that we have that flexibility. So this, being in that USB port, won't have any kind of flex on it. So this is now allowing us to talk. So here we've got our 3 series with the dongle so that we can talk to it. We've got it connected over here to a 9S meter, and it's just standard connections you can see with our duct bills and everything's in here. So this is all standard. So everything's a standard connection. So then Stephen's going to, from over here at his laptop over here, though, he's going to actually perform the test and everything. So he'll be sitting over here at a table. I'm not going to touch anything. I'll keep my hands in view so you can know that I'm not pulling any tricks. And Stephen's going to start operating things over here. But we're going to talk about the screens a little bit over here. So I guess we'll just head over here, right, Steve?
Right. And just we'll just continue, Jared, if you want to go to the next slide, just a quick, here's what we had from our phase 1 of PRM. So the fact that this can be operated from 100 feet as well as in high EMF environments. It's now in a SQL Express database. We're Windows 10 and then in future 11 compliant. And these are been maintained now from phase 1. And now into phase 2, what you'll be seeing today is we've updated the user interface. We have now real-time display of hot screen data. So now right from PRM, you can see hot screen data. We have now the data is going to be transferred in real time. We have a revised summary screen that you can save, as well as more data enhancements from a SQL database perspective, as well as I just said, the enhanced data selection capability. And then, as John just said, the USB extender. So that's part of the kit in addition to the Bluetooth dongle for our wireless communication. So with that, we can head right over to our tablet. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to connect our analyzer, and I'll press the Connect Analyzer button. It will show the serial number of the 3 series that is there that John just showed us that's connected to the bench. So once it's connected, what you'll notice is the rest of these selections are now available for your use. And one of the things that John likes to do is to make sure that the test setup is correct and there are any pre-test kinds of signals or data that you could tell. So as I mentioned before, we can now do our hot screen analysis directly from PRM in real time.
Sorry to interrupt, Stephen, but when you were doing the Connect Analyzer, I noticed the number comes up, and that's the serial number off of the device, right? So we know that you are married with this, so that we know which one we're controlling. So you can't have problems with talking to different ones. I noticed in there, that's the serial number, obviously, when it came up, right?
That's correct.
Okay, good. So you have to log in and, with that serial number of that particular device. So we make sure they're married together. We don't get any stray stuff.
And there's no confusion.
Cool.
So I'm going to run to the hot screen or select the hot screen capability. It's going to do what we always do to make sure you have the proper probes connected. Probes were detected. And now we're going to go into continue, where you'll see our vector diagram along with our ability, and we have what looks like good vectors here, our ability to select primary and secondary current. And John, you can continue why that's important.
So here you can see he has the selection over here on the primary. So you have primary on this side and secondary on this side. So the primary over here, if Stephen clicks on there and drops it down, you can see that I can take a look at my take a look at my primary current or my secondary voltage here. If I come over here, then I can see my secondary current. So what do we always talk about when we're doing these tests? We always talk about pre-test. Okay, I want to look at my primary versus my secondary voltage. And we have that capability now with the PRM, because you can see up here at the top that it changes. It'll change from secondary current to primary current. It should if you go to primary, right?
Yes. Let me just go down here. Do you want primary?
Yeah, let's go primary. See, so now we changed to primary current up here at the top. It's the same function that we show on the webinars where I toggle using F4 on the machine. On the 3 series, you can use F4 and do the same thing and toggle the difference between primary and secondary current. And we've said how critical that is, not just comparing the difference between a CT being in backwards versus the secondary wires being swapped, but at that point you can capture anything. Once you go into the test, you can't capture things. So when we've been out there with folks testing with them, and we've seen a lot of harmonics that are unacceptable, or we've seen power factors we didn't like, you can capture them in the pretest. So this is great that I can compare my primary to my secondary. Another thing, actually, that you can do with the PRM now, that if you found in the field, is when you have a lot of corrosion, or in particular situations, you can't really do the test. There's so much corrosion there that our equipment is not going to allow you to, it doesn't have a good current path, but I can compare my primary and secondary currents, and knowing what my multiplier is, I can see if I'm close by just doing the math. So if it's a 200 to 5, it's supposed to be 40 to 1, I can take my primary current, divide by 40, and look at my secondary, and I can see if I'm really close or I'm way out. So all of that now is operational and functional with the PRM now, because I can see primary and secondary. So that's good. Cool.
And thanks, John. So now this is before we start, so we have a good feel for what's going on at the site before we actually begin our test. And I'm going to select, this is just the standard test that comes with PRM. I will select that. You can put in your technician's name and or any comments about that site, which will be saved once the session is complete. Then we will then go to our integrated site test selection, and I will choose some of the parameters there, where since we do have double wrap CTs, and this will be a CT ratio test, I can then continue at this point.
All of these, by the way, the great thing is these screens are looking very, very similar to what they see on the test kit. So you haven't deviated much at all. It's not like they're seeing some crazy new screen.
We've worked really hard to make sure that the workflow and behavior on PRM is very much identical to what's on the 3 series. We got good vectors here with each phase demonstrated in each one of the boxes. And now we're going to go continue, where it will then check the valid signals to make sure it can continue on the test going forward.
So again, test flow is something they're used to seeing. They're not seeing something different. You know, this is the same thing it does when you run an integrated site test. It shows you the vectors first on the secondary side, and it goes right into it. So it's not strange new stuff. Also, there's familiarity with this, so that's good.
All right, so now, as it would on the 3 series, we'll go right into the registration test. And then once the necessary and then valid signals are complete, it will then go into the current and phase test. And it won't let you progress until it says test complete and the continue button becomes active. So therefore, you know that you're at all of the data is valid, yes. All of the signals are valid, and it then will enable you to continue.
Yes, just like with the test kit, when it runs it, it has to complete it all before it goes in, or it won't allow you to, the F6 button doesn't become engaged. Gotcha.
And now we have our required probes were detected again. And now it'll start to test each phase and the current of each phase and display those results.
Yeah. Again, just like we're used to seeing on the 3 series, it's going to go A, B, and C phases and do a CT ratio on each of the 3 phases.
And then the exciting part is once this is complete, our summary test fields, John, and the data will be available for us to save or then save and send. And that's always available until a new test is initiated. And I will go through that once the 3 phases and the currents are completed. And at any point, you can see there's a retest button. So you can individually test each phase, or you can restart the whole test at this point. So if you just wanted to ensure that what you're seeing is valid, or check connections, sure. Or in any way rerun the test, that's available to you at any time.
So again, just like they're used to running on the machine, they can test an individual phase, or they can retest all 3 of them. So,
that's correct.
So we've kept the functionality the same. That's good.
And then here is our summary screen that just demonstrates with the parameters that we've selected what has been delivered from a data perspective. Now, as you see, here are the selections. We could go back to that summary screen because we haven't initiated a new test. Now, what's really exciting about Phase 2 is our data and database functionality.
Gotcha. Just one quick thing. So here on the current session summary, that's when you've completed, and that's, so if you wouldn't mind clicking on it. So there you go. So here's where we see our vectors, our test results, and we see all that. It was grayed out in the beginning because I hadn't run a test yet. So once I've run a test, now it's actually, it's highlighted so I can click on it and I can use it at any time. And you're saying that's active and it's going to stay on that test results right there until I start to run another test.
That's correct.
So in other words, the onus is on, which you would want to do anyway. If you're the tester out there, now what do I do with my test data? I can either send it, I can just save it, or I can send it on, put it into something. But I need to do something with it before I go to the next test.
That's correct. And just as a brief illustration, here's the save function. It's saved as a PDF, a portable document format. It will have the date and time. And then you can put it in any location, both locally or not locally, for that particular test summary of the test that you did. So it's right there available. You could take that and send it. You can really do what you want with it. And that will be maintained. So if you wanted to have various ones of these with each test that you ran, you could do that as well as you change configurations or test or change testing scenarios. So let's continue, and I will go up to now the database section. What we've done here, and this is for Phase 2, is now you have the ability, and as I mentioned before, PRM will be your focal point for your test data, your test sites, your components, and everything about your testing capability. So you can import all of your meter site manager data, and it handles it automatically. It will then reside on your SQL Express database that is now part of PRM. In addition to that is the ability to manage sites and components that you imported using PRM. So we've updated our site selection, so you can go in and pick your various sites as we did. Here's our TEC site. You can also select meters that are now part of that, so select the meters that you have and or create or import meters that might be specific to that particular site, as well as PTs and CTs. So you now have the ability to manage these individually right through PRM and create your own test setups as well. So each time you can go through and select which kind of a test setup depending on the site that you're going to go to. In addition, phantom load setups are the same, and you can customize those as well. And then once the tests are complete, you can go and export that test data. The exciting part about Phase 2 is you don't have to select the table. you can select individual data components. So if we go right here to the option screen, you can see we can select the types of data that we would like to export. We will export those in .csv files. You can select them all if you'd like, and it'll select them all, or you can select the ones that are specific to you. So if you have compliance testing that requires a certain amount of fields, or customers that require fields that they would like to see, you can just go forth and then select those particular data fields that you would like. Once you've done that, you can then save those, and they will then be exported to a single file as part of a comma-separated value, which is a standard across whether it's programs or whether it's spreadsheets. And once you press save, of course, you can put that in a particular spot that you'll be able to then review later and or input into different programs.
It's pretty freaking cool.
So we're giving you the flexibility to move your data, the data that you've collected, CSV format into any other program that might be able to use that data. And you can filter that results from time and date. You can filter them here, so the test that we just ran is right here at the top. And then depending on the test that you ran, you can unselect or select the test that you would like to then pick the data for. So it's really providing that flexibility that enables you to then save the specific data that you want and then export it in that common format into any other program that you might want.
Nice. So what does phase 3 do? That gives us access to the grid?
So what phase 3...
What does 3 do?
So what phase 3 will do, John, is phase 3 will then take us to the next step where we're going to have detailed reporting. Mm-hmm. So we'll have various reports that you've seen in Meter Site Manager. That'll be a result of this. We're going to have dashboard capability where you'll have the ability to pick various views that you can customize. And then we'll have that native data export capability. So depending on the particular management system that you might have, we'll be able to export directly to that. So one button, almost outside of the testing once the test is completed.
Nice. That's the home run, baby. That's the home run.
And of course, as we demonstrated before, we can then, and this happens to be on a Microsoft Surface tablet running 10 Pro for Surface tablet, and this of course is transportable. I can move this to where I'd like it to be and run this wirelessly.
And just real quick, looking at these, the analyzer settings is just similar to what they've already done before when they've set up. Yeah, this is when they go into user preferences and stuff. So yeah, everything looks very similar to what they already see. It's actually a little bit cleaner to get to things. So
these are directly analogous to what you see on the analyzer. Yep. And enables you to set all of those kinds of functions. Nice. That you would. So once again, we have taken great strides and great lengths to make sure that the workflow, if not exactly the same, is super similar, so that the amount of retraining or training is brought or kept to a minimum.
It's pretty sweet. So, can you see?
Go back over there.
Huh?
I can see you. You can sit there. You can go there. Whatever you want to do.
Doesn't matter. At what point in Mullen's job description did they tell him that he could just point and I would run over there? That's what I want to know. Where is that?
Well, I mean, you did it.
We raised bird dogs growing up, and I know that evidently I can be trained. We had some of them we didn't think could be trained.
We'll give you a treat later on.
Yeah, I'll get a treat later. Yeah, I usually do get a treat later. That's true. Well, let me look. What are we looking at here? Okay, upcoming functionality. Do you want to talk about, I think you pretty much just covered it. I think you covered everything. I tell you from my standpoint, we've been very, very fortunate as a company to have customers that we've had that, that especially when you're doing it when you do a lot of testing and you have a lot of data, the Meter Site Manager function, I know that they've hung with us because they like the equipment so well and they like Ray Gore's support. But now that we're going to move forward with this data acquisition, I am pretty excited about this, to know that you can hit a button and load it right on somebody's system. We've been asked that maybe 100 times. I'm being nice. So yeah, over 8 years I've been asked that a lot. So now I'm finally going to get to say, yes, we can. So we're about to do that. So I'm pretty excited about it. As you can see, it's super simple. It's going to just load it on there. But the most important thing for me is no more meter site management. People have to do data entry. So I know some companies right now that are going to jump up and down over that. So I'm pretty excited about it. So thanks for the presentation, brother.
Thank you, John.
And so next week we'll be going over a 4, isn't it? Is it overhead?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, overhead 4S. And but in the meantime, y'all please be careful out there. And thanks again for all your support and your attention on these webinars. And be careful, okay? Make it home safe to your families. God bless y'all. Thanks.